Hi, I'm Maria Contreras-Sweet, Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. At SBA, we're dedicated to helping small business owners and those who would like to be a small business owner start, grow, and succeed in their business ventures. Every large business started as a small company, and we've helped some of the most recognizable brands along their journey to success. FedEx, Apple, Under Armour, AOL, Ben & Jerry's, Dogfish Head, Stonyfield Farm, Tom's of Maine, Nike, JetBlue Airways, Chobani, just to name a few. For people throughout the United States and all our territories, SBA is here to help at any stage of your business, from writing a business plan to securing working capital to exporting your products overseas. SBA has district offices across the country. These offices help entrepreneurs with what we call 3 C's and a D: contracting, counseling, capital, and disaster assistance. Government contracting can be a critical tool for growing your small business. The government has many categories of contract opportunities set aside exclusively for small businesses. These help level the playing field for women, for veterans, and the socially and the economically disadvantaged. SBA also offers participation in matchmaking events and the Mentor-Protege program to help small businesses compete more successfully for federal government contracts. Through our district offices and extensive network of resource partners,
So I would love for you to please ask a question at any time. And I don't think we have microphones in the room, so I'll restate the question so that you can all hear it. And then we'll proceed that way. And we've got about an hour together, and I think we could take a lot more than that, but we can follow up with refreshments afterward if we keep going. As you know, veterans are fantastic entrepreneurs. I mean, if you don't know that, you will after this hour. They over-index in small business ownership. If you compare a veteran to their private sector peer, they're 45% more likely to start a small business. And then once they are small business owners, veterans contribute so much to our country and are creating jobs in our communities. The census, the latest one, says that 1 in 10 small businesses are veteran-owned right now. And these businesses generate over $1.2 trillion in receipts annually. That was a T, trillion. And they employ nearly 5.8 million Americans. There is a lot of success. We're trying to build more opportunities, but there are challenges also, and we'll go over some of those, and if you're wondering about those, please ask. The panelists here today are going to share both their experiences and their expertise, and I'm excited to introduce you to them. Each will spend a little more time telling you about their particular experience and what they're doing right now in this space. So on the far end, Ken Yancey is the CEO of SCORE. We have Eric Eversole, who's the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce and also the Executive Director of Hiring Our Heroes here at the Chamber. And Robert Bailey, the President and the CEO of Bailey Information Technology Consulting Company. So Ken, may I ask you please to start and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Barb. I'd be happy to. I want to thank first the Chamber and the Small Business Administration for getting us together and talking about this very important topic of veteran entrepreneurship. I've been involved in small business and entrepreneurship for a little over 25 years. I've been CEO of SCORE for the last 21. For those of you that don't know, SCORE is an organization of businessmen and women who volunteer their time to help small business owners and people that would like to start. We help them by providing mentoring, coaching, counseling on just about any topic that relates to starting, growing, managing, buying, selling a business. We're 11,500 volunteers today, and last year over 13% of our total clients identified themselves as veteran or service disabled or in some way had served our great country. So we're very focused and very excited about this conversation. We're anxious to do more to help the veteran community and look forward to your questions and ideas. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you, Ken. Eric, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Barb. My name's Eric Eversole. As Barb mentioned, I wear a couple of hats. I'm a vice president here at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And I also have the privilege of serving our men and women in uniform as the executive director of hiring our heroes. I, like Barb, wear a third hat as well, and I'm also a Navy reservist, close to 20. So counting those days pretty quickly, but it's been a great honor to serve our country as a naval reservist. And as I mentioned before, it's really a great honor to wear a slightly different uniform and serve them here at the Chamber. We started hiring our heroes with a relatively simple mission about 3 years ago. We were going to help veterans make a direct connection to great employers throughout the country, primarily through hiring fairs. If you would have asked us a little over 3 years ago whether I thought we would have done 600 hiring fairs, I would have told you we're crazy. But the fact is, we must be crazy because we've done over 700 hiring fairs in communities throughout America in the last 3 years. And we're starting to make a significant dent in some of the unemployment issues faced by veterans. But I will tell you, and happy to repeat it time and time again, the one thing we see at our hiring fairs in communities large and small, with businesses large and small, is that veteran business owners hire other veterans because they know the value proposition that veterans can bring to businesses. So happy to talk about that a little bit later and looking forward to great questions.
Thank you, Eric. Robert, may I please ask you to introduce yourself?
I'm Robert Bailey, President and CEO of Bailey Information Technology Consultants, better known as Big Consultants. We've been in existence for about 2.5 years. We primarily focus on IT, infrastructure, architecture, cybersecurity, mainly in the intelligence community space and also supporting DoD. Privileged to be here today to speak on lessons learned, past performance, things not to do, things to do, and just really a down-to-earth conversation relative to some of the real issues that are out there from startup, doing business in the defense contracting world, and maybe we can share and have a good dialogue on what works, what doesn't work. I call myself a new era entrepreneur. Think about 2.5 years ago, think about the economy and what that turbulence that has been out there and being able to navigate through it. So hopefully we can have a good dialogue and I can share some of my lessons learned with you all. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I would love to know what kind of audience we have and why you might be here with us in the audience. So can you show me, please, how many veteran business owners there are with us today? Fantastic. A lot on this side. Any of you have hired veterans in the past in your own small businesses? Thank you. And then there are others, I'm sure, who volunteer to provide opportunities to veterans. And I think in all of these arenas, we will be able to address a few stories here, and I look forward to your questions. So I would like to start with Ken, if I may, the value of having a mentor and how some of those here can help in that regard.
Obviously at SCORE, given that we're an organization that prides itself and focuses primarily on one-to-one mentoring, face-to-face, that can occur between someone with experience, someone that has had opportunities that they've seized and done well with, and opportunities that the reverse was true. To sit down with someone that is starting a business, that has an existing business, that would like a sounding board, that would like to be able to bounce ideas off, to talk about strategy, to have a third party that is not invested in the business, that can ask the hard questions on a regular basis. I think that's really critical to any relationship and to any endeavor that you want to go. Most of you have mentors in some fashion. It may not be a formal relationship. It may be informal. It may be a family member that you call periodically to ask questions. It may be a business person that you've met. It may be a formal relationship like with SCORE or the Small Business Development Centers or Women Business Center, where you really do focus on helping your business or a really specific achievable goal that you've set for yourself. We believe that mentoring makes a difference. Our experience is that is the case. There was some research done in Michigan not long ago that said that a small business owner or aspiring small business owner who used a mentor and listened and acted based on what they learned was 4 times more likely to start and to survive the first 6 quarters, which is, if any of you that have started a small business, you know that's the most challenging. They're more likely to start and more likely to survive those 6 quarters than those that don't. So for many, many reasons, we think it's the wise thing for anybody to do. And even if you just confirm that you know everything, a mentor's a pretty valuable resource. So if you don't have one, get one. And if SCORE can help you, we'd love to have that opportunity.
Thanks, Ken. Is there anyone else who would like to talk about mentoring and how that may have helped in your current development?
Yeah, let me add to that, Barbara, if I may. I think mentorship is important. But after, a couple of bumps up against the wall and hitting some dead spots, I realized I have to first define what I want out of a mentor. And so I actually have 2. The CIO for Frito-Lay is one of my mentors. She is my strategic mentor. And I look at her that way because think about the global presence of Frito-Lay. And then I have another one with a major prime here in the Beltway. That's my tactical mentor. That's day-to-day acquisition strategy and understanding how to go after government procurement mentor. So for me, it took a while to get there. What do I want out of a mentor? And one mentor can't necessarily give you everything you need. And you may need more than that. But for me, after I pared away and looked at the value add of what they're giving me, in some cases I felt like I was mentoring my mentor. Well, that's not a mentor. But you really have to bring substance to a mentor for them to help you. And it's a two-way street. And I work my mentors. It's not just a title for them. I really work them. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. I'm going to stay on the personal a little bit and talk about the skills that you have learned in the service, Eric, Robert, on what that brings to what you're currently doing. And because some of it might be surprising. I think there's a stereotype that military members are very good at following orders.
Right.
They also are really good at dealing with chaos and creating order out of it. So I would love to spend a little bit of time on that, Eric, if you want to kick us off.
I'll be more than happy to. So 20-year veteran, telecommunications is my background. Served in a number of campaigns doing, my job was I was advisor to the commander for communications. So I had to know everything from wired comms to satellite communications. So jack of all, master of none. So it gave me a good appreciation of a spectrum of communications and intelligence understanding as far as implementing and working with suppliers. At that time, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it. I mean, I felt that I would sit in certain meetings and didn't know what I was talking about, so that's why I went to school at Siemens. I went to Motorola for land mobile radios, Microsoft. I really wanted to get the tactical understanding so I can sit and present myself in an intelligent way with understanding comms for deployment. Use that past performance, fast forward, first job out of military, worked for SAIC, navigated through that. That was really a basic training for me, if you will. 8.5 years, walking out of the military. In 18 months, I became an assistant vice president and running a major program supporting the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. That program had everything from research and development to IT infrastructure embedded, and it was a global program. There was no time to try to figure out how to learn it. I had to jump in and learn and get engineers in place. Had a national security component to it. So, doing that, and I touched everything again. And then from there, I went on to Boeing and was a senior manager with Boeing, still working in the intel community. So my past performance and what I had developed over the years is really the center hold of my company. I understand my customer, my market segment, and I stay true to that. If there's something that comes along, I may question it, but I understand my market segment, my base, and my customer, and I try to make sure we stay focused as an organization and not just chase something because it looks good. I look at the short, the mid, and the long-term strategy. And if you stay true to it, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's been easy. My gray came, it came, with some sweat and tears behind it, but now we're really looking good. And oh, by the way, we're one of DOD's newest proteges, so we just got awarded that on Tuesday. So we're very excited to become a new protege in such a short period of time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an amazing
That's huge. Thank you.
step. Eric.
It's one of those things that I think about, as still a military officer, someone who made the transition from active duty to the civilian sector a couple of years ago. Really, what does your military experience bring either to a business that you're going to start or one that you're going to work in? And the one thing that I think rings true from what we learned day one in basic training or officer school, it's really about building teams. How do you build effective teams to accomplish a mission and understanding what that mission is? You learn that from day one in the military. You understand that you have people around you, they're your team members, they have your back, they're people you can count on. So military folks in the pure sense are great team builders, and that can be incredibly valuable, as you all know, in business, because you may have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't have the team to execute that mission, then you're going to fail. So that's one part of it, building teams, identifying the mission. But let's not forget, and I grew up, my dad came home from Vietnam in the early 70s. And he started his own business. And one thing I can tell you, and I know you all know this, but small businesses are hard work. There were many nights when it was 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, when he was just getting around to doing the books and the other things that needed to be done to make sure that they were successful. And I know you all know that, but for me, it's something that the military really teaches you quite well too, which is to never give up. Sometimes that may mean that you're on the deck of a ship for 18 hours, but at the end of the day, you're going to make sure that you're there until the end, and that's absolutely critical for a small business as well. And then let's not forget the innovation and the ability to make tough decisions in very crazy and complicated times. Military folks, whether they're enlisted or officers, have the ability to whittle issues down to the key points and then make a decision and execute that decision and move forward. And I think that's an absolutely critical skill as well.
Thanks for sharing. I definitely hear the discipline among your stories. Also, the ability to build teams but be decisive can be elusive to many. I find it more common in some veterans that I've worked with, but thanks for your perspectives. And Ken, I wanted to start with you on this next one, some of the challenges that face the small business owners when they're first starting out their ventures.
We could come up with a very long list. I think that from a SCORE standpoint and from my standpoint, it's critical that you have a well thought out and comprehensive business plan. I know not everybody believes in a business plan, but I do, we do. And for those of you that are veterans or that are still in the military, you know how important planning is. And often someone says, planning is invaluable and plans are worthless. I don't believe that. I think that it's critical, and I think within those plans, it must be comprehensive. You must look at all the areas where you have opportunities, and more particularly all the areas that you have risk. I think one of the things that we often see is people that underestimate their capital requirements for a business, how much it's really going to take for them to get started. It sounds good and you think that you have it right, but you really do need that mentor or someone to poke some holes and to ask some questions and to make sure that you've thought it through and you haven't left out one thing or another. So those are the two things that I would start with: a really comprehensive quality business plan, and then ensuring that you have adequately estimated the amount of capital it's going to require to become profitable, to hit that break-even point.
Thank you, Ken. You did bring up some things that also the SBA recognizes and is working in partnership with you. Access to capital for veterans. There are some challenges there, and many small business owners have this challenge. As you said, it takes more than you think it will. So we will continue to work to strengthen those programs, and also working with DoD on the back end to work on financial literacy so that people are more lender ready when they come out of the service. And our partnership has been good in that arena so far with all of our resource partners. Thanks for highlighting that. Robert, Eric, would either of you like to talk about some challenges you've seen through your different lenses here?
Yeah, I think for me, it goes back to the point that you really have to define that business plan. I like to call it a mission. You have to define what your mission is. I talk to a lot of young veterans, and again, whether it's they're thinking about starting their own business or whether they're thinking about working for someone else. I'll tell you a story of a young Navy SEAL that came into my office. I looked at his resume. It was the best resume I've ever seen. It was flawless, well executed. Everything was, he really talked about his service in terms that any employer could understand, whether they had much of a background in the military or not. And he came into my office for an interview, and I asked him, I said, what do you want to do? And he looked at me and he was a little bit puzzled, and he said, I want to lead. I said, well, that's great. What do you want to lead? What's that mission? And I asked him, I said, would you ever jump into a hot zone without a mission and a plan to how you were going to execute that mission? And he looked at me and said, absolutely not. And I said, well, how can you ever possibly go into the corporate world without understanding what that mission is and how you're going to get it accomplished? And I could see that a light went off above his head, but that's something that young service members and all service members face, is that they really see this corporate world as something that's much different, and they don't necessarily know how to approach it. And as a result of that, they don't go in and define their mission. And I tell them, look, your approach to the civilian sector shouldn't be any different than you approach every day in the military. Define your mission, go out and plan and practice and make sure you're ready to execute, and then go out and execute, and when the going gets rough, don't ever give up. It's exactly the same things you learn in the military. Be prepared to do that in the civilian sector.
Thank you. And Robert, I want to take advantage of your experience with procurement as one of the challenges that you discuss with us, and whatever else you care to add.
Okay.
But that one would be helpful, especially in this region. A lot of attention on that.
Yeah, not a problem, Barb.
Thanks.
I kind of broke it up into different phases. Starting out, after I exhausted, all human education tutorials that are walking around, I decided to go to the SBA website, and I really utilized some of those classes they had out there. And I call that kind of my foundation. And then from there, organizations such as SCORE and Entrepreneur Boot Camp for Veterans and Veteran Institute for Procurement, I actually graduated from, VIP and from EVB, and that really is a focus for veterans. Just the federal. Just the focus on veterans alone. What I find, though, is that oftentimes, veterans are challenged with the experience that we have as an individual. The question is, how do you translate into your organization and then convey not only to whom you're trying to partner with, be it major prime, but how do you really convince the bank that you can deliver those goods? So there's a double-edged sword here. You don't have past performance, okay? And you're just starting out. You don't have a history of receipts and receivables and payroll. So you're sitting there scratching your head saying, hey, SBA, help me out. The bank says one thing. And so what I would offer is that I had to realize to scale things down. One person, one FTE, one employee means a lot, as opposed to me trying to go after 10, 12, 20, just scope it. Just get one. That's all you need is one. Or look at it becoming a partner on an IDIQ contract, and you become part of that vehicle. And then people start looking at you differently with regards to your relationships. Oh, there's some creds behind you. So I think And I'm not sure if SCORE teachers, they may help in that regard with, I think, understanding where you are relative to shaping your acquisition strategy. That's something I'm sure SCORE can help with that. That's important. Before you jump out there, understand your value proposition, your differentiators, and how you're going to execute. And if you don't understand that, from the bank to your partners, they look at you and say you're not ready. And that's what you don't want. And the banks will tell you that. You know, they'll run you through everything. I mean, I hate to say it, but I've been through that. I'm telling you, I scratched my head and I said, hey, I'm a major guy in all these companies. I've done this. They don't care. We're talking about your company, not you. So that's what you kind of need help with shaping. Throw your resume to the side and look at really getting small past performance and then growing off of that. And that helps you with your acquisition. It helps you grow from a business, I believe. And again, I have everything except 8A and HubZone, and I had to do ground root business development along with, you know, what I was taught. You know, I guess that's a little advantage being in a big business. You know, I've senior manager courses, and so, but I would offer, though, there are tools out there to help with those things, but understanding that component is important.
Thank you. When I asked earlier about small business owners, we do have a number of them in this audience, so I would like our panelists to think about some of the reasons to hire veterans, some of the challenges you may face. I mean, Eric and I share the trying to wear multiple hats. Is it worthwhile to hire a reservist? He and I would say, of course, but there are challenges both for the reservist and the employer. And there are different ways that you can also bring veteran entrepreneurs into your space. For example, being a part of your supply chain, or just hire vets. So I'd like to talk about that from the employer perspective about veterans. So Ken, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. I think that you want to strongly consider hiring a vet for all the reasons that these veterans just articulated on why veterans make good entrepreneurs, how they translate their skills into the private sector, the value they can bring in terms of discipline, integrity, problem-solving capabilities, intelligence, an unwillingness to quit, a drive. Those are the kind of people, and the ability to build a team. And when you think about building a team, those are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. So I think it's the right move. It's a good move, and I believe wholeheartedly that after years of service to our country, it's the right thing to do, and it's appropriate. In terms of reservists, there are a drawback or two, but my sense is that those are overshadowed by the positives, and those individuals warrant need, and it's appropriate that we support them. And so I think that that's again the right thing to do, and I think that 98% of small businesses work really hard to do the right thing. So
Absolutely, they do. Eric.
Well, I definitely agree with Ken. From my perspective, there's a tremendous value proposition for adding veteran talent to your workforce. Really, Ken articulated many of the reasons. They are hardworking, they're innovative. One thing people don't think about all the time too is that they're tremendous at following the chain of command. They understand that there's always someone that may be above them that has decisional authority. And they're willing to accept that. Doesn't mean that they're not going to give you their opinion. I, as a JAG, have had many unhappy colonels and captains tell me that they didn't necessarily agree with my viewpoint. At the end of the day, I said, aye, sir, we'll make this work in a way that makes it good for you. And veterans as a whole understand that chain of command in a way that most of your employees don't. They're not going to sit around and ask you a bunch of dumb questions about, well, why do you want to do that? And, what's the, you all know some of the younger employees out there. You're not going to get that from veterans. They're going to understand that you have, that you're the one that's the general or the commanding officer. You have the decisional authority, and you need their support in executing it. And the other thing is you know, once you get their buy-in into your mission, they're going to be the most loyal and dedicated employees you've ever had. And that's true whether, you know, they're a veteran or they're still serving as a reservist or a Guards member. These service members, and I'll tell you, from my perspective, and Barb, you can attest to this, our reservists and Guards members have probably made some of the greatest sacrifices over the last 12 years as compared to anyone. They've had to, some of them had to shut their own small businesses down to go over and serve. Others have had to pick everything up to answer that call of duty and make significant life changes while their family's at home. And sometimes that means significant pay cuts. And it can mean multiple deployments. I think most of us know reservists and Guards members that have faced multiple deployments. But at the end of the day, you're still getting a service member who is highly dedicated and loyal to your mission. And while there may be a period of time while they end up getting called to serve their country, you should also know that when they come back, those service member employees are going to be incredibly loyal when you open up your arms and welcome them back, because they're going to appreciate that dedication to their mission as well. So I think it's absolutely critical to make sure that, you know, reservists and Guards members are taken care of as well.
And I wanted to follow up on that. Thank you for sharing that about the sacrifice that reservists make, but the small businesses who employ reservists have also made quite a sacrifice over the last decade. Some are more significantly impacted than a large corporation would be because they lose special talent in a smaller pool when you lose a reservist to go serve their country. And while, yes, it's patriotic, there can be some economic injury. So sometimes I've heard this is a well-kept secret, so I'll say it here. SBA does have a loan that can help in those situations for that economic injury that occurs or can occur if a reservist who deploys is an essential employee. So thank you for recognizing it, and for you who have hired veterans, thank you for doing that. It's not charity, I don't think. These are great Americans who are contributing a great deal to our economy and to your businesses. Is there anything, Robert, that you wanted to talk about on this one?
I would just say that I echo what was already said. As a veteran, for me, it's a way to give back. Oftentimes, because of my customer requirements, I find myself having to do more mentoring, coaching, if you will, to actually get them qualified. It's frustrating in some instances. I mean, how do you tell a veteran they're not qualified and they've been doing something for their whole career? Well, you know, there's requirements and there's certifications and things. So, yeah, I mean, it's great. And then if I were to flip it and turn on my corporate hat, and some of you may be aware, there's some tax advantages with hiring veterans. Mm-hmm. So, you know, look into that component. You want to look at it in a holistic way anyway. But I would just offer that, you know, the veterans that I have on board, I mean, they are, as already stated, they're priceless. I mean, they actually help with the other team members who, you know, feel that they've encompassed or come upon an issue that they can't overcome. And who's leading the way? It's that veteran. So, yeah.
Thanks for adding that. Mm-hmm. You're getting a good feel for the expertise here, and pretty soon we're going to turn it over for your questions. But I wanted to make sure that we gave our panelists a chance to talk about anything that might be on their minds on this topic. And Eric, I would like to hear more about hiring our heroes too.
Sure.
So I'll start with you and then move to Ken.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that we try to focus on at hiring our heroes, and I think it's important, is that we really focus on who are our customers. And in my view, and one thing that we haven't talked about that I do want to talk about here in a second, is that we really have three customer sets. We have our veterans and our active duty service members who are in the process of transitioning. They have unique need sets. They may need help translating their military experience into terms that civilians understand. They may need mentorship and guidance as to what a good career after the military looks like. So that's one customer set. The other customer set that we haven't talked about that I think is absolutely critical to emphasize is military spouses and military families. I talked about the reservists making sacrifices. Those sacrifices pale in comparison to what military families have faced over the last decade plus of time. And one thing that's really critical to mention about military spouses and really military families are healthiest when both the service member and the spouse have good economic opportunities, because it really is, it's a team effort. If that spouse has a good job opportunity, that makes that transition for the active duty service member easier. It gives the family more options. It may give one or the other the opportunity to start a small business and take the risk. So when you can create economic stability in the entire family, it's absolutely critical. So we treat military spouses as a unique customer set. They face unique challenges. Many of them have gaps in their resume because I have several military spouses on my team. One, her husband's finishing up 20 years. She's moved 13 times in the last 20 years. And that is not an uncommon story. So she has gaps in her resume. Oftentimes, the military does a very good job with families about teaching them what's on a base, but doesn't do such a great job of showing them what a community outside of the base looks like and what the opportunities are. So spouses are a unique customer set. We spend a lot of time working on events focused solely on spouses. We launched a new resume tool for spouses called Career Spark, which allows them to create functional, skill-based resumes. Military spouses have a volunteer rate 4 times the national average. Problem is, they put that experience down in the other activities. Even though they're managing budgets, they're managing people, the only difference between that and a paid job is that they're not getting paid. So our resume, Career Spark, helps them capture that experience and creates that skills-based resume to help them put them in the best position for a job. I'm really proud of that. And the final customer set that we at Hiring Our Heroes and I'll put my other hat on at the Chamber believe strongly in, is making sure that we treat businesses across the country as a customer as well. I know you all want to hire veterans, but for small businesses, it can be a really difficult challenge to source those veterans and to find them. Many small businesses have challenges because they're so busy that at 10 o'clock at night, you're lucky to look at the resumes that came in from whatever source they came from. So one of the things that we help businesses to help source veterans is on our resume branding tool for resume branding engine for active duty service members. There's a database in there with active duty veteran resumes that's free for any business in this room, any business across the country to search for veteran talent. We'll make it as easy as possible for you to search. You can do it based on zip code or within a mile radius. It doesn't cost you anything. Visit hiringourheroes.org and you'll see there's a whole host of tools to make it easier for businesses, regardless of whether you're small, medium, or large, to find that veteran talent. And here's the thing that I think you'll all appreciate. It's absolutely free for everyone across the country. It's free for the veterans, and it's free for businesses. So please, if there's an opportunity, please use that as a great way to find veteran talent.
Thanks for highlighting that. I really appreciate it. Ken?
I think, and I don't know, Barb, if you're going to ask this question or not, but I hope that all of you know that there are a myriad of resources out there that are available to veterans and veteran business owners. And it's not just the SBA, and it's not just SCORE, and it's not just what the Chamber's doing, but there are many, many resources that are available. The International Franchise Association has VetFran, and 600 of their franchisors are making franchise opportunities available to veterans at a reduced cost. This is not charity. It's the first time I've heard that word used with regard to veteran service. This is not charity. This is something that you earned through your service to the country, and you should take advantage of it. The SBA has products and services that are available. There are loan products that are available. Many banks and other financial institutions offer those opportunities. They're not that difficult to find. There are veteran networking groups. My nephew went through OCS and is a Marine Corps officer. And I remember at the graduation, the general said, the only person that really understands a Marine is the enemy. And so clearly I don't understand a Marine all that well, but I do know that Marines like to be together. And I think that veterans network very well together. And there are numerous veteran organizations around the country that allow that networking to occur. Many of them are business focused. There's value there in terms of finding partners, in terms of finding employment, in terms of finding employees, in terms of finding new business. Clearly, veterans like to do business with veterans for reasons that, again, make perfect sense and that have been articulated here many times. So I would encourage you, as you are in your journey after your service, whatever it might be, to seek out all of those opportunities and take advantage of them, because you absolutely earned them, and they are there for your support.
Thank you for highlighting that. Absolutely. Robert.
Well, because it's already been clearly said, I would just add this. If you're just starting out, and you hear it all the time, be patient. It's tough to say when you've just used your savings as your seed money. You have your house, your dog, your cat, everything invested. You want to see a return on your investment like yesterday. I understand. But what's important, though, is to really focus in on those programs that were just stated. They are there to help. They will help you. Just to give a brief example, I kind of launched twice really, if you really think about it. What I did the first time, I call it a tabletop business. I'm sitting around the table, we're off and running, we're in business. Then I scratched my head and said, no, I'm not. So I went back and recalibrated and said, hey, you know how to do this the right way. So I really spent almost a year focused on my infrastructure. I wanted to make sure that if there was a certification out there for the business and I was eligible for it, I wanted it. So everything from being certified with the Washington Metropolitan Airports Authority to the state of Virginia, you name it, DOT, everything except HubZone and 8A is in my portfolio. That was my focus. I wanted to be able to use that as part of my value proposition, some of my discriminators. I don't even bring up veteran in the beginning. When I talk, folks have to figure that out, to be honest with you, because I want to understand their mission. I want them to really focus on the business and our past performance and what we have really done and what we can do in our offerings. And just to go back for a moment, though, with the workforce, my workforce, they all have certifications. If they don't have it, I had one that didn't, I made it mandatory. They all have security clearances. I made it mandatory. So it's not only bringing someone on board and hiring them, they know and they're appreciated in my organization. And so to me, that keeps my turnover low, my operating expenses low, because you're not having to recruit. And the recruiting machine will drain you. It will drain you. It's just a constant churn of talent. So what has been offered here today, I think back a couple of months now and said, wow, where were you when I really needed you? No, just playing. But I would tell you, just really think about you know, what you have in your portfolio, what you're eligible for, and have you really taken the time to focus on that infrastructure. You can't build the business and try to build your infrastructure at the same. It's just tough, unless you can. I mean, if you can afford it, you know, good for you. But I found it to be tough to do, so I elected to go towards building my infrastructure first. And now, you know, I'm okay with myself. We can really focus just like some of the bigger folks, and we're really focused on building the portfolio and the acquisition strategy.
Thank you. I'm going to steal just one moment and echo what Eric started about families and spouses. They're a treasure. Men and women are military spouses, and they sacrifice quite a lot, and you'd be surprised at how many very professional folks have given up their careers to follow their loved one to wherever that may be, and I'm not surprised to hear 13 moves. Yeah, they add up quick. SBA is also there, and we do offer many of our programs for spouses as well, so sometimes we are one of those best-kept secrets. This is the time to get the word out. Things like Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for veterans with disabilities. Not only that member, but their spouse is eligible for some special, concentrated education on how to become a small business owner. For women veterans, we have VWise. And I will be happy while we socialize after 5 to tell you more about that. And for transitioning veterans, we have Boots to Business. Finally, we are part of the Transition Assistance Program that DoD offers. Well, it's mandatory, so it's more than offered. You will take it. As you exit the service through retirement or transition, self-employment is now there as one of the 3 options: higher education, getting a job, or create your own. So that all of those are open to spouses as well. So with that, we do have one extra microphone, and so we can bring it to you. If there are any questions for the panel, or if you'd like to share something with the group that's here that you think would be meaningful to this conversation, I'd be grateful for that. Right here.
My name is John Curry. My question is about the Boots to Business. Is that for recently, like retired military? I've been out like 10 years.
It is for currently transitioning veterans. We are working right now on pilot programs that should take place in the next few months for those who have, from different eras, who have already separated. Okay. So look for more.
But as a veteran, I'm still eligible for the other programs. I'm happy to be here because I heard a lot. I'm like just starting out. I'm a software developer, so I was pleased to hear Mr. Bailey talk about certifications are important. So I'm working towards that and hoping to just network and meet up with people. It sounds like for me, I'll be needing to do the partner thing to get started because it's just too hard for a single guy to start out. So just thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
And just, Barb, quickly, even though you've separated and you've been out 10 years, SCORE is a great opportunity for you today, as is the Small Business Development Centers that are sponsored by the SBA. Those programs are there. They offer education. They offer mentoring, any support that you need, and so you don't have to wait. Great. Well, come get my card because I know a guy that might be able to help.
Ken, thank you so much for adding that. Absolutely. I saw a gentleman in the front here.
Good afternoon. Carlos Gomez with the Kansas City Hispanic Chamber. We work with the United States Army on the PAYS program, which basically guarantees a veteran an interview, and not necessarily a job, and matching them with the private sector. But I think there's still a little disconnect because the private sector, they want to hire veterans, but a lot of times when we get to the legal department, there's like they're worried about preference, giving preference with hiring practices. What are companies out there that are champions of hiring veterans that we can utilize and saying, look at this company and maybe see how they're doing it as a best practice? There are a lot of companies signing on though, so we are making progress.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of great companies across the country that have really stepped up to the plate. Capital One, USAA, Toyota, JP Morgan Chase. I mean, these are companies that have all, and I think what's really, the common denominator with a lot of these businesses is that they've taken a top-down, all the way to the bottom approach of making sure that everyone in that business understands the importance of veterans to their workforce. It's easy to, I won't even say it's easy. Many companies start out with the commitment. I got a commitment coming from the CEO, I'm going to hire veterans. But then you get down into the execution part of it. It goes down to the recruiting managers. And they got 100 resumes on their desk, and they got a checklist. Person has to have a bachelor's degree, they have to have these certifications. That can be tough for a lot of service members. They may not have that education. So you really have to, and it's again why we treat businesses as customers. We work very hard with a lot of recruiting and HR departments to help understand what a military resume looks like and helps translate it into something that's an equivalent. The preference issue, of course, is something that you have to be careful of. You can't, some legal departments, I'm a recovering lawyer, by the way, but I've heard that some lawyers do throw up some red flags when people are targeting specifically veterans. However, if you have a good qualified candidate pool based on your company's unique needs that may include diversity requirements or military, you can take all those resumes and look at them and hire the best qualified candidate. And I think that's, you don't want to get lost in the fact that your lawyers may, I'm still a JAG, I try to find a way to say yes. That's what I encourage, most corporate lawyers to do, is find a way to say yes that makes them comfortable. But there's ways to make sure that what you're doing is increasing your veteran talent pool and your diversity pool, and making sure that you're hiring the best qualified candidates for your business.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you. My name is Joe Wynn. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I'm also a member of the Veterans Entrepreneurship Task Force. Very pleased to be here today. I know a lot of times we actually refer a lot of our veterans to this school for mentoring. You've been doing a great job in that respect. We also talk to a lot of the business owners about, getting their own personal portfolio together so that they can strongly represent themselves. We're finding too that the more veterans that are able to move into that contracting space, particularly on the federal side, I know there's also the commercial small business side as well, but the more veterans improve their opportunities for business, the more likely they are to hire other veterans. And so we appreciate the campaign that has been going on with our hiring our heroes in the U.S. Chamber. But I'd like to ask this question. This is probably going to be directed to you, Rob, because you're doing so much also in the federal contracting space. What do you think could be done, perhaps, that agencies could do to increase contract opportunities for our veteran or service-disabled vets?
Now you're going to get me in trouble. Let me just share some thoughts that I've had, and maybe someone in the room can help. Clearly, as a standalone business entity, I have no rights to policy. But with the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned CVE designation, it's already out there in the FAR how it should be. There's a certain amount of, there are goals out there that each of the agencies are to try to meet. And they do. I mean, they actually, I've been to several, and there are some good folks. Although I would offer that there are some challenges with the logistics of actually creating either a direct award or a set-aside, a pure set-aside for a service-disabled veteran. There's so much paperwork that they have to do. Most acquisition offices don't want to do it, as opposed to, a similar program like the 8A program, some of the other programs. And so, Joe, to answer your question, just my thought would be, requiring some of the other set-aside successful programs to maybe subcontract to the veterans. I would think that in helping one of the other set-aside program entities build a supply chain base by requiring them and make them understand how to subcontract, it's a two-way proposition. They're learning how to become a standalone and a good prime contractor, along with helping eligible veterans in the DoD space. And I think, because how does that veteran with a new business like the gentleman here in software, he may have all the skills, and I'm gonna talk to him after this, by the way, he may have some good quality skills in software, but if his business doesn't have that past performance, he has no way in the door.
That's right.
Unless he's partnered with someone that does. So, I mean, that's just one of the things. I think that there are enough policies out there, but they just need to be tweaked a little bit. And I think just to give veteran businesses a little boost in that regard would be a big help. That's my take on it.
Thank you.
Hope I didn't get in trouble, Barb. I'm sorry.
No. We have a couple more minutes. I see a gentleman right here in my front.
Hello, my name is Kyle Williams. I am not a veteran, and I am a principal of my own firm that is trying to get into the government federal contracting side. And my question to you, Mr. Bailey, is what are you looking for in a subcontractor, and what value could someone starting out add to a company such as yours as a partner?
Wow. Good question, and I would answer this way. Depending upon the acquisition that we're going after, and clearly part of subcontracting, the acquisition strategy is you're bringing something to the table that I don't have. How do you complement me? Doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not, doesn't matter, but do you have that core capability in your organization? And do you, by adding you to that team, and this is where we get into teaming, and I would offer that a lot of entrepreneurs, I don't care if you're a veteran or not, need to understand the composition of teaming. Do you create that competitive advantage from a price, from a technical, from a managerial and execution? Are you going to help give us those discriminators to get us over the curve, if you will? So I would offer that. For me, I look at that, and what's most difficult in a lot of my portfolios is, again, the security clearance requirement. But we do have some commercial work to diversify some of our holdings that are same IT-based, very challenging. I just ramp up the standards on how we go after that. But I would tell you that would be great. But yeah, I would love to talk to you offline if you wanted to about more of teaming and strategy.
We have time for one more question. Serene. I'm sorry, right over here. Forgive me, the glare is a little much. And if we miss anyone, we will be next door for a while after this is over.
First of all, I want to admonish the panel and also SBA for this great panel that we have here this afternoon. I'm George S. Banks. I'm President and CEO of Century Security International, Inc. It's a Washington, D.C. based 8A and hub zone company. We've been in business for about 15 years. We're a security guard company and a private detective agency company. What I'm offering here today is, you know, we do have a veteran within our organization, but we need one more veteran, service disabled vets, that we want to bring in to partner with us to work together. So whosoever is interested, they can join us after this meeting and we can discuss it. Thank you very much. We're right here on K Street, 1425 K Street. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to wrap up for now. I hope that you found this as meaningful as I did, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend this hour with our team. So let me thank Ken Yancey, Eric Eversole, and Robert Bailey for your time. You are welcome to join us. We'll be right over here for 1 hour, and then at that time, I hope that you'll stay because you will get to meet Maria Contreras-Sweet, the new SBA administrator. And there are many more exciting events happening throughout this evening, as you well know. So thank you again for spending this time with us. Have a great day.
seats are at. National Small Business Week 2014. Thank you all for joining us this evening for the National Small Business Week welcome reception here in Washington, D.C. My name is Michelle Chang. I'm the Acting Chief of Staff at the SBA. I will be emceeing tonight's program. I'd like to welcome everybody to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and thank them for their hospitality in opening up this wonderful space. We have an amazing group of small business owners in this room on what is the 4th day of National Small Business Week. So far, we've been to San Francisco, Kansas City, and Boston, and in each city, we've been overwhelmed by the positive energy and inspiring work small businesses are doing in every corner of our country. You're lifting up our communities by creating jobs, you're building cutting-edge products, you're transforming industries. The small business owners in this room and the millions across the country are the backbone of this nation's economy, and we are excited to highlight your exemplary work throughout this whole week. We have a great lineup this evening, including the Federal Reserve Chairwoman, Janet Yellen, followed by a panel discussion with the founder of Papa John's Pizza, John Schnatter. To get things started, I'd like to introduce SBA's Administrator, Mary Contreras-Sweet. Administrator Contreras-Sweet became the 24th Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration and a member of President Obama's cabinet on April 7, 2014. She is a successful entrepreneur, business executive, and state cabinet official. Throughout her career in the public and private sector, she has been a champion of diversity, access to capital, and opportunity for all Americans. Prior to her arrival in Washington, Administrator Contreras-Sweet founded Pro-America Bank, the first Latino-formed commercial bank in California in more than 35 years. As the bank's executive chairwoman, she focused on providing access to capital and counseling to small and mid-sized businesses in Los Angeles. She previously started Fortius Holdings, LLC, a venture capital firm that invested in small businesses. As California's Secretary of Business, Transportation, and Housing Agency, Administrator Contreras-Sweet was the first Latina to hold a state cabinet post in California. Her journey as a first-generation immigrant born in Guadalajara, Mexico, to President Obama's cabinet is one that could only happen here in America. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome SBA Administrator Maria Contreras-Sweet.
Thank you. Woo! It's been a long time getting to you, and it wasn't just this morning. I'm talking about my lifetime. Welcome to National Small Business Week. When I talk about a lifetime, I just want to introduce myself to all of you. I think you all heard the president say that I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and my mother brought me along with my 5 siblings at the age of 5. But I still remember my grandmother saying, if you play by the rules and you bring others along, it will serve you well. And someday, if you play by the rules and do right by others, someday, although our family has been a history of migrant workers, someday you'll be able to work in an office and be a secretary. Well, the good Lord heard her prayers and made me California's Cabinet Secretary of Housing and Transportation and Real Estate, and now on the President's Cabinet. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, and so I know what it is to make a sacrifice and to come here and to celebrate these wonderful stories. I started 3 businesses, and the last one I started was a small community bank. And so I have a great deal of respect for bankers, and I'm so proud to now be at the helm of the SBA to team up with bankers, with our community partners, our counselors, and all of the federal government and our private sector partners that do contracting with us. In my very first act, I went out to see the state of Washington to visit the mudslide of victims, because it was so important for me to understand that not only do we do the capital, the counseling, and the contracting, but that when Americans are most vulnerable, we also have our disaster programs. And I'm so delighted to see that everywhere I've gone throughout this country, already in my 34 days in office, that everyone tells me about the role that SBA is playing in their community. So I'm so happy to see you here today and to celebrate these stories. Tonight, we honor you. You are the small business winners from across the country. What an exciting time to be a business owner today. You are our stars. You had an idea, you started a business, and you watched it grow. You should be very proud, I should say, of yourselves. Give yourselves a big round of applause, please. Please. I have now had 3 meetings, cabinet meetings, if you will, with the president, and he always says, "Are you having fun as well?" And I tell him, everywhere I go, everybody wants to see small businesses succeed. Republican, Democrat, rural, urban center, young and old, everybody wants to see the business community, the small business community succeed. You're creating 2 out of every 3 new jobs. Besides being winners, what you also have in common is support from the SBA. Whether that support is in the form of a guarantee loan or counseling or access to contracting opportunities, you know what the SBA does and why it means so much. I'm so pleased to be the SBA administrator, and although I've only been on the job for a month, I can already feel your impact. Before I started the SBA, I was a business owner, starting the 3 businesses, and I understood the challenges that you face. Sometimes you're the chief marketing officer, the chief human resources officer, and you're getting the work in the day and you're doing the work at night. It takes so much dedication, but it's worth it. We're building family legacies. We're a reception here today, so I know that I don't want to go too long, but let me just thank again the beautiful, wonderful, generous Chamber of Commerce for allowing us this exquisite space. Thank you to Tom Donahue and Giovanni Corralato for working so hard to make this space available to us and making this very special evening special for you. I want to now my pleasure is to introduce our next speaker. I'm delighted to welcome the chair of the Federal Reserve to the National Small Business Week celebration and culmination. I'm from California, so I've seen the great work and watched the chair up close as she did her work as president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of California. She has been an inspiration. Early on, the United States Senate appointed me to the Federal Glass Ceiling Commission in the early 90s. I won't say more than that. Watching Janet Yellen, however, rise up the ranks on her merits and shatter the highest glass ceiling in finance validates the future that so many people have worked so hard to realize. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that I am grateful for her leadership. I know you are too. We're all proud of her achievements, and she's made this country proud. Please help me welcome the Honorable, the Chair of the Federal Reserve, Ms. Janet Yellen.
Thank you, Administrator Contreras-Sweet. I'm pleased to be here at the U.S. Chamber to have this opportunity to be part of Small Business Week and to meet the outstanding entrepreneurs here this evening. I'm also grateful to be able to share a few thoughts on the important role I believe small businesses have played and will continue to play in America's recovery from the financial crisis and the Great Recession. After the onset of the crisis, the Federal Reserve took extraordinary steps to stabilize the financial system and halt the plunge in economic activity. Since then, the Fed has continued to use its monetary policy tools to promote the recovery and make progress toward our mandated objectives of maximum employment and price stability. By putting downward pressure on interest rates, the Fed is trying to make financial conditions more accommodative, supporting asset values and lowering borrowing costs for households and businesses, and thus encouraging the spending that spurs job creation and a stronger recovery. Crucial to this process, as I just mentioned, is job creation. The Federal Reserve tries to promote the conditions to foster job creation, but overwhelmingly, it is businesses that create the jobs. About 85% of non-farm employment is in the private sector, which traditionally is the source of a similarly large share of new jobs during economic expansions. So far during this expansion, public sector employment has declined, and the private sector is accounted for all of the net increase in employment. So businesses have been even more crucial to job creation than usual. Small businesses, of course, are responsible for a large share of these new jobs. According to the latest data from the Labor Department, a little more than half of the net new jobs created since employment began growing in 2010 has been generated by firms with fewer than 250 employees. And most of that amount was accounted for by firms with fewer than 50 employees. One of the reasons I wanted so much to be here this evening was to be able to acknowledge these important contributions. America has come a long way since the dark days of the financial crisis, and small businesses deserve a considerable share of the credit for the investment and hiring that have brought that progress. Although we have come far, it's also true that we have further to go to assure a healthier economy, and I'm certain that small businesses will continue to play a critical role in reaching that objective. I'm honored to be addressing the owners of 53 small businesses whose excellence exemplifies the enormous contributions that millions of small businesses collectively make to our economy. You come from different places and have achieved success in a wide variety of ways, but you all share the entrepreneurial spirit that has always been central to our nation's prosperity. We at the Federal Reserve are keenly aware of your vital role, and we pledge to continue to do our part in promoting the recovery so that you can continue to help America grow and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Yellen. Next, I'd like to introduce Janet Zablock, the head of Visa's Global Small Business. Ms. Zablock directs the development and implementation of the strategic vision for Visa business products targeted at small business market segment. Her team coordinates all small business credit and debit product efforts, including product development, program management, and marketing. Additionally, she manages Visa's small business credit and debit issuer services, which provide Visa financial institution clients with insight and counsel on effective client relationship management. Prior to joining Visa, Ms. Zablock was with Bank of America, where she worked on cash management program implementation. She also worked for McDonald's Corporation in a variety of corporate positions. She holds a bachelor's degree from Eastern Illinois University. Please welcome Janet Zablock.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm honored to be here, particularly following two amazing women, such as Chairwoman Yellen and Administrator Contreras-Sweet. The administrator brought a chuckle to me when she talked about typing, because my mother used to tell me, you need to fall back, you need to be a secretary, go learn typing. And so it brought to mind that who would have ever thought I'd be on the same stage and getting to speak to all of you. So America truly is a wonderful place, and you all are great advocates for America. So just want to thank you for having me. I also want to take a minute to thank the folks at the SBA that have put on this event, because I know moving from city to city and all the logistics it takes, it's a lot of work. And so I just want to say thank you for putting together such a great celebration of all the small businesses across the country. So thank you, SBA, for your hard work. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the kickoff in San Francisco, where this all started, because that's where my home is. And maybe I can say I was a little bit fortunate not to follow them to Kansas City, as the administrator didn't arrive there until 3 in the morning. And yet I watched the webcast from my office in San Francisco, and she had as much energy and enthusiasm as she did when she was in San Francisco. And it made me think, we have the right advocate for small business that is going to be our advocate, because she got up, you know, got on with it just like you do every day. So I feel like she really proved to all of us that she still is a small business owner at heart and knows how to just get it done. And that's just amazing to me. I'll just spend a few minutes telling you about how we at Visa support small businesses across the US. All of us are basically here regardless of our political or industry affiliation, because we recognize you are the backbone of the US economy. You drive that engine. You're the job creators, as we've heard over and over. You're responsible for half the nation's jobs, and you are the risk takers. And it was leader Nancy Pelosi who was in San Francisco, and one of the things she said she thinks it's harder to start a small business than to get married. And I think that she's probably right. It's very risky. It takes a lot of hard work and effort and nurturing. And so I think she had a good saying when she said that. Over the past few years, you know, there has been a lot of concern about how hard it is to get access to capital, whether you're a new business starting up or an existing business. It's starting to get better and recovering from sort of the depths of 2008. But when we talk about how important it is for small businesses to have access to capital, we should remember there's really a second piece to that. And that is talking about flow of capital on a daily basis. It's really the lifeblood of small businesses. In fact, when we did our most recent quarterly survey of small business owners, it was the top 5 concern. In the top 5 concerns of small business owners across the country is how to manage that cash flow. And it's really easy to understand why. If a small business lacks a secure, reliable, and convenient way to pay and be paid, there's a good chance you'll be in a tough place. You won't have funds you need to buy inventory or meet payroll or even pay your electric bill or your phone bill if you aren't managing your cash flow. And no matter how well or how great your customer service is, without that capital flow, it can be a recipe for disaster. And that's why my team and Visa is focused on meeting the needs of all of you. We believe electronic payments is really the key to unleashing that flow of capital for your daily needs. Electronic payments are really an incredible tool that addresses a lot of your pain points. They save you time because there's no cash or checks to handle. You don't have to count the money. You don't have to drive to the bank to deposit it or worry about using your cell phone to deposit checks. They reduce costs for many of the same reasons, and they guarantee payment. So the risks associated with checks or managing cash with numerous employees disappear. Another thing we learned from our recent survey is that the top desire of small business owners is to attract new customers, and grow their business. This seems like this should be number one all the time. But up until the past 12 months, it wasn't even on the top 5. And I think that was because everyone was holding on during sort of the rocky economic times, just trying to keep what they already had. But we've really seen a shift in dynamic, trying to grow your businesses and grow your customer base. And we believe that electronic payments will help you do that. If you have children today in college or older adult children, you probably know they don't even carry a checkbook. They grew up without writing checks. They're used to they use prepaid cards, they use debit cards, but they're not writing checks, and they often don't carry cash. So you have a whole customer base out there that can be open to you with electronic payments. All these things, efficiency, cost savings, growing your business, are important for any economic environment. But as we're seeing this resurgence and growth and recovery of small businesses, the benefits of electronic payments are growing more important. And this is probably why the recent survey also showed the tipping point for small businesses in terms of rejecting checks and cash in favor of electronic payments is trending. It's also being driven basically by all the mobile technologies. So your smartphones, your tablets, all the innovation that's being created to help you at a more reasonable cost where you don't have to have a lot of technical resources. In fact, these technologies, along with Visa's payments networks, are the tools helping an increasing number of small businesses go cashless. And let me give you an example. We recently helped identified a small business in San Francisco that actually spoke this week at San Francisco Small Business Week to share their story. And what it is, it's a gourmet sandwich shop called Split Bread, which I think that name is creative too, so that's innovative, because there's lots of sandwich shops around, but they decided they wanted to have a unique name. And what they also decided is that they wanted to go cashless. So they opened a little over a year ago in San Francisco's Metreon Shopping Center. And for those of you who don't live in San Francisco, the Metreon is right across the street from our Moscone Convention Center, where thousands of folks attend conventions throughout the year. So between shoppers, people going to the movies, and convention folks, they decided they needed to be very efficient and very fast. Speed and efficiency were their two main objectives, besides having a delicious product and a quality product. And what they chose to do is go cashless. And the reason they chose that, and what he will tell you, the founders will tell you, is it gave their customers a choice of how they pay. You can order on an online computer, smartphone, or tablet, and have your sandwich waiting for you to pick up. Or when you arrive in the restaurant, there's a kiosk where you can place your order. Or if you want to sit right down at a table, there's a QR code that they can use the QR code, and the menu will be pulled up, and they can order and pay that way. So the owners of Split Bread said when they launched, this was important for their business. They think it's more cost-effective, there's no cash to count or handle, and instead of cashiers, they've hired more sandwich makers so that they can get the product out to their customers more efficiently. So all these technologies in place are hopefully going to facilitate even more profitability to you and more ease of delivering to the channels your customers want to purchase in. And they're just one of the thousands of small businesses that are being creative in figuring out how to manage their cash flow and how to reach customers where they want to make their purchases from. We're busy developing new offerings all the time around mobile payments, digital wallet services, and information-based products. And I think the information-based products that we want to push out to all of you will help you to get to one of those objectives, which is identify new customers and how can you reach them, and also understand how your performance is benchmarking against a peer set. So those are things that we're working on to help drive to some of your objectives. But nothing can really take the place of the passion, the dedication, and the entrepreneurial spirit of the small business owner. I have to say, when I was watching the webcast in Kansas City and Eddie Kennison was on there, the former NFL player, I think you could have heard a pin drop. I wasn't in the room, but I was enraptured at my desk. And usually when I'm at my desk, I'm doing 25 things. But just the passion from all the folks that we see throughout this week lifts me up, and it's perfect timing because we're in our budget cycle and planning cycle, so I get to hear lots of ideas from all of you, so thank you. As you continue to grow and the economy continues to grow, we will continue to invest in you by making Visa the best way to pay and be paid everywhere you want to be, whether that's at a physical location or online. So I just want to congratulate you on behalf of Visa on your success and wish you a great remainder of the year. And I look forward to partnering with the SBA to help bring tools and efficiency to you where possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the participants in our keynote panel discussion for this evening. John Snotter is the founder and CEO of Papa John's, one of the most successful pizza franchises in the country. Mr. Snotter started Papa John's in the broom closet of his father's tavern. After selling his 1972 Camaro to help save the business, he purchased some used restaurant equipment, knocked down the tavern's broom closet walls, and started making his first pizzas. By 1984, Mr. Snotter opened his first Papa John's restaurant. 30 years later, the company has grown into one of the largest pizza franchises in the country, earning $1.4 billion in revenue in 2013 through over 4,000 franchises worldwide. Joining Mr. Snotter on stage is Bill Freitas, a Papa John's franchisee, as well as SBA Assistant Administrator for Communications and Public Liaison, Fred Baldessaro, who will be moderating tonight's discussion. Please welcome tonight's panel.
Well, welcome everybody, and welcome to National Small Business Week. Let's have another hand congratulate the winners once again for everything they've been doing. Tonight we're going to have fun. We're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, pizza. Papa John and Bill, we're going to have some fun and go through some questions, and then we're going to take some questions from the audience. So start thinking of your questions, and before we even get any further, can I shake the hand that has shook the hand with Peyton Manning? That's exciting.
That's funny.
So let's get started. How did you get started? Because there's something in there about a broom closet.
Well, I think you all can relate. Behind every successful man, there's a surprise mother-in-law. So, and Peyton's just great to work with. We were shooting a spot one time, and you know, we're just kind of going through it, and all of a sudden I looked up. Peyton's about 6'7", 6'8", and looked up. And I said, "Oh my God, it's Peyton Manning!" Kind of hit me, but we've had a lot of fun with the commercials. But Papa John's has been a great ride. I got lucky. I found something I loved to do at 15, and I was washing dishes at Rocky Sub Pub. I hated washing dishes. Joe, John, and Frank Fondrisi were real Italians. They taught me how to make pizza. I just fell in love with making pizza, and then got through college working at Greek's Pizzeria for Chris Karamessini, the real Greek. Learned a little bit more, thought I had a good idea to how to do this, and then put it in a box and hid it in my college dorm until I got out of college and got back to that bar to start selling pizzas.
So you started in college. Now, how did you figure out the financing that goes with this?
Well, when we got in the bar's about $64,000 headed towards bankruptcy. And like all of you, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do at 21. I knew I loved making pizzas, but I was good at athletics, but I worked harder than the other kids. I was good at school, but I worked harder than the other kids, and I used to pray to God, just give me something that I'm naturally good at. And I got thrown in that bar, and it was filthy. And the people didn't care about the customers, and the beer was warm, and the food was no good. And we fixed all that in less than 10 days. And I was like, Dad said, just try to limit the bankruptcy as little as possible. I said, no, Daddy, I think I can fix this. And it was just kind of like, this is the most natural thing I've ever done, is run a business. Just really a blessing. So when I talk to young people and they ask about how to be successful, I tell them, find something that's intuitive, find something that is instinctive, find something that you just love to do. In an apple, the future is the core, it's the seeds. You got to find your seeds, find that future, it's in there somewhere. And the young lady that cuts my hair, Jill, she loves cutting hair. Guy that fixes my teeth, he's Brad, he's an orthodontist, he loves fixing teeth. Peyton, at 2 years old, 3 years old, he's selling football, he loves selling. All of you have a God-given gift. You have that seed. And I tell the youth in this day and age, bounce around until you hit it. And I got lucky at 21. I had a bar, I could run it, and sooner or later I was going to get to my dream of making pizzas and building a pizzeria, and that's how we started.
Yeah, so you've been in business now for 30 years.
30 years.
Most small businesses fail after 4 or 5 years.
Well, I think we're all, 9 out of 10 small businesses fail, so I don't think any of us in the room are very smart. But we're what makes the country great with jobs. We have to provide a better product and service to the consumer. We have to fill their needs and their values. And so the consumer wins. Consumer's constantly getting, a better phone, a better pizza, faster Visa, for example, with their methodology. But this is my franchise here in D.C. He's been with me since '93. He's a colonel. He's an ex-colonel from the Army. He started out in one store. He now has 55. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you did it?
Well, I was sitting in the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I was ready for the old age home, and I was 50, and I said, what the hell am I going to do when I grow up? I'm sitting there, I'm an ex-pilot, I flew, and I had a master's in Renaissance history, and I had nothing, basically. I didn't know anything about business, but it was like manna from heaven. I said, I want to get in the pizza business, and I don't know anything about pizza. So I did some research at a couple of small companies, and also I went to, believe it or not, the Small Business Administration had some workshops out in some of the junior colleges, and I spent, I don't know how many nights in those places, and they basically said, hey, listen, if you're undercapitalized, you're going to go broke, and most of the small businesses will go broke within 3 to 5 years. So with that encouragement,
You kept going.
I told my wife, she says, you're 50 years old, what do you want to go do with all this stuff? So, and of course, I didn't have much money. I said I'd sent my kids to college and everything, so I basically tried to figure out about this capitalization thing, because people go broke because they're undercapitalized. You either got to get a bank loan, you got to have a relative to do it, or you got to borrow it, or whatever you have to do. I hawked out my insurance, my house. My wife went back to work at age 50, and I got a partner, and I came up with $175,000 because that's what it would take, and where I wouldn't have any payments to make. And then I went back and looked at these two companies, and my brother-in-law was a banker in Louisville, and he had given this young kid a loan, and I said, well, let me go down there and see this guy, and he opened it up. So I went down to Louisville, Kentucky, and I met with the then president of the company, and I see this young kid come out of the closet over there, and this guy's all over the place. And I said to myself, this is it. This is what I want to be. I've always been kind of a dummy anyway. And so I hooked onto this thing, and because he was talking about pizza and quality. Really, the differentiation is quality. And so I believed in that game. And so we opened our first store out here in Sterling, Virginia. And there wasn't a Papa John's in Virginia. And me and my son, who just graduated out of college, we manned it, One day I'm briefing the Secretary of Defense. The next day I'm handing the door hangers out or something. And so we just worked at it and learned it, but it's exciting. It's just exciting, and the opportunity to be with a company that's growing, and we grew like hell. I mean, within 3 years, I had 8 stores, and I don't know how many stores he had all over the place. But that's how I kind of started with the thing, and it's been a great opportunity, and it's done well for my family. But you know what it's done more well for? I've got 1,500 employees here in Washington, and it's got all these families. And that's the important part. And these people are working and providing the community and everything else. And this is what it's all about. I'm telling you, it's great.
So I think there are some franchise owners out here. Would you recommend franchising? Are you going to keep going?
Yeah, but again, you better pick the right one. You're going to get yourself in trouble. Pick the one, it's a little bit of luck. I just happened to get this guy, and it worked out like a champ. I mean, it's just, that's the way it goes.
So, Papa, it's my understanding that you stepped down from the company twice. Is this true? And what brought you back?
Well, I left at $44 a share in '99, and at '01 it was down to 10, and then I left in '06, '07 it was 38, and then when I came back in '09 it was $6.50. So what we found through the School of Hard Knocks is that every business has its scaffolding, its framework, and our business platform is win, 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 win. I want, I got one supplier just bought a new King Air, got another supplier just bought a new Gulfstream. I want our suppliers, I want our franchisees to make money. We give 40 raises a week on top of that. We employ 100,000 people worldwide, or 15,000 on our payroll in our 700 corporate stores. But we're really big on win, win, win. And the commissary, we have a captive audience with our distribution center. I cap that at 3%. That way that it's clean. Maria was talking about clean business is good business. We couldn't agree more. The managers in the store and the janitors in the building, Bobby and Joyce, are all bonused on the exact same thing that I'm bonused on. So if they don't make a bonus, I don't get a bonus. And so I think if you align the business, I think corporate America gets a bad reputation because the guys at the top win on the backs of the hardworking folks, and that's just wrong. That's just wrong. We gave Steve Ritchie a raise today, Chief Operating Officer. He was $5 an hour when we hired him. He'll make $1.4 million this year. I mean, that's the American dream. Another situation where we had a gentleman that one of our competitors just stole him from us. They had to pay him $5 million to get him next year. $5 million. We hired him as a plant manager for $220,000. That's market dynamics. That's what you want. You have a company that needs talent. We have developed the talent. You either write the check, hold on to the guy, or he moves on and betters his family. Today, because he moved on, we were able to give 7 raises. See, that's how markets work. Markets are win, win, win. We were traveling to the UK, and it snowed in the UK, and the United Kingdom handles snow worse than Atlanta, Georgia. It's that bad. And so we had
That's
to
pretty
land,
bad.
Yeah, we had to land in Ireland, and we stayed at this castle that was renovated into a hotel. It was fun. Had a pub in it, game room, and a nice walk around the grounds. And so the next day, I asked the manager, I said, "This is neat. This is fun. How come there aren't more castles at our hotels?" Oh, and she said, "Oh, Mr. Schnatter, all the laborers, all the peasant farmers, they burned all the castles down." I went, "Wow. Why didn't they burn this one?" "Oh, he was a fair landlord. He took care of them." Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't take care of the people that are doing the heavy lifting, they will burn your castle down. They will burn your castle down. That's the one thing you remember the whole night. Take care of the folks that are making our country great.
As a football fan, you can't miss the Papa John's commercials on Sundays. Would you recommend to this crowd advertising? And how did you know when it was the right time to advertise?
Well, we weren't involved with NFL until he got us involved with NFL with the Redskins.
Oh, then maybe I should have asked him.
And he paid, it was like $300,000 20 years ago or something crazy. You might even tell him how you got the money because I didn't know it.
You didn't find out until the night, but I went to his brother, and I said, "Listen, give me $300,000 so I can pay the damn Redskins." And I said, I'll pay you back. And
so I financed it, what I thought was a
he
dumb idea on it, but that was a bit beginning. Go ahead. I would tell him about the Redskins, and we turned into the Cowboys, and it turned into Peyton.
Well, we had the Redskins, and we started that. We've been with them for 13, 14 years, and then we're also with the Wizards that are playing tonight. There,
Yeah, we were actually backstage earlier, and there's an interesting dynamic here because Bill's a Wizards fan, wondering what's going to happen tonight's game, but Papa, you're with the Pacers.
Well, we started in Indiana. I mean, we're partners with Paul George in Indiana, so but John Wall's with the Wizards. I'm also a big Kentucky fan, so we just want 7 games. The more games, the more pizza we sell, and I hope you win tonight, but we're going to win on Saturday.
and we've been with the hockey pucks, also with for about 19 years. Unfortunately, we haven't had many winners there, and I'm with the Nationals. But it's a different dynamic, and that's all handled through our co-op here. We have 116 stores, so I got a budget there, so we got to. But I can't just go over there and say I'm the official pizza of the Redskins because we don't. That money's got to come back. So we have activation mechanisms. Like last Tuesday, the Wizards won, and we had 50% off in the whole town of Washington. We got our butts kicked, but it was. But that's the kind of stuff. That's what's so interesting about the pizza business. You're into marketing. You're into personnel. And he's always kicking our butt by trying to get good pizza, and we do the best. I mean, he's a fanatic about it, and we're really serious about that. So it's a fun experience, and I think it's fun to be successful.
Well, if you could, the NFL's been a great partner, and Peyton Manning is just a wonderful man, and his whole family are just wonderful people. And you talk about people that get up, work hard, and just really do the right thing. The Manning family is the real deal.
But now, you guys were talking about, well, I'm talking about the national advertising angle, but we were backstage talking about how the real business is local. So what are you trying to do locally? So it's a two-pronged strategy.
You know, as Maria talked about, local bank, she started out as a local bank. We have 9% marketing dollars. 4% is national, which we call our Air Force. We do national. And then 5% is local. We think the entrepreneur spirit, Papa John's is a company of entrepreneurs. We love mistakes, as long as they were well thought out and they had the analytics and the facts. You're not going to innovate. You're not going to get better if you're not making mistakes. 15 years ago, when I would make a mistake, I would really get down on myself. Now, if I got the facts and I got the analytics and I got the science and I give it my guts and it doesn't work, I go, okay, what happened? And we treat it as an innovative, a healthy thing. And it took me a long time to get there, but we try to keep our business entrepreneurial. So Bill controls 5% of the 9 locally.
And again, different venues we do. We use radio, TV, all that other stuff, and we come up with what's unique for the Washington area, and we have a very unique area around here. And so that's another whole thing. I've got an agency that does that stuff, but I'm involved, and we got to be involved. That's the bottom line in this whole thing is you got to be involved. You get somebody else to do the damn thing. I don't know, unless she's really good, you're going to go down the tubes.
I know we're going to take some questions from the audience in a few minutes, but I just have a few more things I think the audience, both watching at home and here, want to know about. I've heard you in presentations talk about Going Left and the Go Left program. Can you talk a little more about that and explain if there's a way for people to be involved in that?
The Go Left program is a culture program. It's about how we enter the interpersonal relationships. We have a better ingredients, better pizza philosophy that is really the gospel, and it's not a slogan, it's a way of life. But also the most important thing, we're really in the people business. We're not in the pizza business. We studied Covey and Center for Leadership, Disney, and they were all good, except they don't work. And when the companies would blow up, and so the Go Left program is about building collaborative alliances. It's a head coach model versus what we call the kingship model. Head coach, self-serving honesty. Kingship, queenship, self-serving dishonesty. Here, people at the top win, people at the bottom lose. Here, water boys just as important as the people at the top. It's a line perfectly. When things fall apart at a head coach, people fall together. Low anxiety, teamwork. Head coach, when things fall apart, people get their head bitten off. When they have problems, things fall apart. Over here, you make a mistake, you get your head bitten off because you got to curry favor to the king, otherwise you don't get the bonus. Over here, you have a model, a system that everybody can work through. Again, low anxiety. People make a mistake. It's accepted. In fact, when my team makes a mistake, I usually say it was my mistake. That way, they're free to make a mistake again without feeling they can't innovate. Mm-hmm. So if you have a head coach model, a collaborative alliance just kind of comes into place. People stay in the neocortex, less anxiety, less fighting, less reptilian behavior, more neocortex functioning. People get more creative. They come to work for other things besides the money, the intangibles, and you look forward to going to work. It's just a better way to go through life. So that's Go Left.
About people, I think you have to have a culture of achievement and opportunity. And in the food business or the pizza business, I'm not telling you a lot, that thing rotates in and out. You got people coming out. I'm telling you, we don't rotate much. We have entry people. I've got people, all my managers have been with us for 10 years, 5, 10 years. I've got all my supervisors. These people I've had. I mean, some people come in here for summer jobs and everything, and it's so important. And that's based, they see the opportunity to advance to get more money. And you know, these guys have, and they're raising families and everything else. So you got to be very cognizant about this. And, you know, is everything happy every day? No, but they understand where they are and they can move on up.
So Papa John's is in over 30 countries around the world. So figuring out how to export, how to grow overseas, we know at SBA that, you know, the market overseas is tremendous for U.S. businesses, but only a small portion of businesses in the U.S. export. How did you know when it was time to export? How did you know, and what were the hurdles that you had to overcome? And what advice would you have for folks that might be thinking about it?
Well, you know, if there was a bingo dot with 1,000 spots on mistakes, we hit every single spot we did not miss one spot. I mean, we struggled with it for about 7, 8, 9 years. We're a family of small businesses. We have 4,500 restaurants, but it's in 600 groups. So I got 600 of these I'm dealing with every day. I just wish they all were like him, because my life would be real easy. So if we don't pick the right franchisee, and we screen through an 8-layer process, then it won't work. It'll go under. Now, Papa John's pays for all the equipment in the franchises, because if that franchisee goes under, if I'm going to lose $80,000, $50,000 in the hard cost equipment and another 25 or 30 soft, because it has to be a win-win. So if they go under, they may lose $150,000, but I'm out 80. I don't like it. Last 5 years, we've had to close 13 franchises that were under that program. It does still happen, but if I've got skin in the game, I'm going to protect my investment. Now, international is the same thing. You got to pick the right group. And in the areas we picked the wrong group, we've paid a dear price. In Russia, our franchisee in Russia is really, really good, and he's doing great. The GCC, we're number one brand in Kuwait and Bahrain. So we got some really good people. The hardest thing was, how do you make that pizza in China taste like Chile, taste like Washington, D.C., taste like Louisville? And we call what we call the gold standard. And I can't monitor 100 cheese factories throughout the world. 95% of our cheese comes from one factory in the whole world. 100% of our sauce comes from 2 factories in Modesto, because it's fresh packed sauce. So everybody wants to be better ingredients, better pizza. They want to own quality. They want to own that. Quality takes time, and quality costs money. We are a 30-year overnight success story. We have just flat out wore them out on not compromising or taking. Our category is notorious for cutting corners. We don't do that. We're the only national chain that can call beef, beef, and sausage, sausage. And it's like that with everything. And so what we've done is we've created 18 products, the dough, the sauce, the box, the butter, that worldwide are non-negotiable. And we call it turning the world to gold. Now, every once in a while, we'll get something like Canada, where it's a $4 tariff per pound. We can't do American cheese in Canada. We have to do Canadian cheese. But that's the exception, not the norm. But your quality is only as good as your consistency, and incongruity breeds mistrust. So when you're in Latin America and you have a pizza, you're going to go, wow, that tastes just like a Papa John's back home. That was very hard to do, and it took us about 12 years to get that piece right.
Well, I know.
Can we let them answer a few questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm done.
I'm with 54 entrepreneurs. I feel like I just died and went to heaven.
I'm done. We are going to turn this over, actually, to the audience, and there is a gentleman in the corner with a mic, so raise your hand, and we'll get to some questions.
Hi, Papa John. Thank you for coming today. I enjoyed it. Now, I have 2 questions. One, how does your business plan work? Because seeing large business always doing their own business plans. And number 2, what makes your industry different from other industries?
You want to repeat the question?
Yeah, it was what makes you different from other industries, and what makes your brand so special?
Oh, I think the brand's successful because it's authentic. I mean, better ingredients, better pizza. I mean, it's a way of life, and nothing sells like the truth. I mean, why don't you tell them about how we fix the pizzas up here, because you were messing up on the quality, but we spend millions of dollars.
I get had all the time. He has this program called the Secret Shopper program that they they come to your store and order a pizza, and then he's got this thing back at the corporation that they graded. And he does it once a month to each of our stores. This thing costs him a fortune. This is one thing. And I'm on the board up there at the Franchise Advisory Board, and every time I went there, my scores are always the lowest, and I couldn't get it right. I just couldn't get it right. And so finally I said, to hell with it. I talked to my son who runs the business, and I says, if anybody gets below this score, I'm going to take $100 out of their bonus, and if they get above this, I'm going to give $100 more of their bonus, and if they get the top score, I'm going to give them $250. I'm going broke paying bonuses right now.
What gets rewarded gets repeated, and what gets measured gets done. We measure everything. This program you talked about is $4 million. We measure 66,000 pizzas a year, 15,000 a quarter. I know exactly what you're getting when you order a Papa John pizza. I mean, if I don't get the product and the service right, if we don't get the product and service right, the whole rest of the thing falls apart. I think you had another part of your question that maybe I didn't answer.
It was, how does your business plan work?
We set out a budget, and we set out goals. You know, we set out goals of this year 240 to 280 stores and a certain operating, income level. But if we get new data, we change on a dime. I think a lot of companies, they have a budget and they have a business plan, and they're inflexible. You have to change in this environment. You got to be able to change quickly. And the 12 execs around me, they've just gotten used to that. If we get new data and it says we're going the wrong direction, then we're not going to ignore that data at all.
What data are you looking at?
Oh my gosh! Right now, we're trying to measure the temperature of the dough in the truck from headquarters, because I'm getting dough blowing in the stores, and they're blaming me because the truck's not cold. I'm saying they're mismanaging the dough. Well, let's measure the truck and monitor it. That's going on all the time. The cleaning up of the labeling. I mean, you can't imagine how much effort we put into not only no fillers, no artificial colorings or artificial flavors, but just getting rid of the stuff. These food scientists come in, and they've been taught to put stuff in, nitrates, et cetera. And I'm like, no, I want this stuff out. But we're always innovating. We're rolling out a new computer system right now. We have a new routing system for our semis.
The lady from Bank of America was talking about technology. What year was it that you bought the online system? I don't know, 2000?
201, 202.
201. This is before anybody knew about all this stuff. And I'm sitting at 60% of my people right now. All the stores are getting orders online. It's nothing in it. And it's a whole different model, the way you market to them, the whole different pay and all that. But it's technology, and you took advantage of that thing. And back then, I don't know how much you spent on the damn thing, $8 million, $9 million, or whatever the heck it was.
We spent $8 million in less than 2% of our business. The board almost fired me over spending that money on that internet system in 2002.
We're 50% right now as a company. So
I think there's a question in the back.
Yes, I'm Clifton Berman from Man and Machine. How successful are you in Italy, where the home of the pizza is? How do you do in the home?
We're not in Italy. I learned how to make pizza from a real Italian, but as Clint Eastwood said in High Plains Drifter, man's got to know his limitations.
Hi, I'm Jerry Bard from ADT. We're a sponsor here, and ADT loves small businesses. I just have to put that plug there. But Fred, you are a man after my own heart. You asked John about advertising, when he decided to advertise. So I have two questions. I'll be quick. When you think about your opportunity, your biggest opportunity, the mic seems to, am I too close to it? That's working. Are you looking at geographic expansion? Is it menu expansion? Or is it kind of taking over someone else's, meal occasions? That's one. And you asked the question about when you decided to advertise, but I'm interested in how you selected the agency that you do have, because better pizza, better ingredients. I mean, I can't think of a simpler, stronger slogan and positioning than that. So I wanted to know how you were helped in doing that.
Well, remember, the bar is bankrupt. Tuesday night was Little King night, 3 beers for $1. Thursday was euchre tournament night. and Sunday was pool tournament night. The first promotion we did at Papa John's was Monday Night Football, get a pizza and a 6-pack of beer for $10. So we've always had kind of a creative bent. We've always known how to market it. But that being said, the first Papa John's in the broom closet didn't even have a sign on the front door because I thought they didn't care where it came from as long as it was good. So that's how naive I was. You with me? I mean, we're, right now we're a product company, we're a technology company, but we're also a marketing company. So I think we learned that through the School of Hard Knocks. We're doing something right now that's going to shock y'all. We're changing our advertising. Now, to give you an idea, we were up 9.5% Q4 last year, Q1 of this year, and our largest competitor was down 5%. 14% swing of market share, and we're changing it. Sometimes you got to get rid of something that's good and take a chance on something being better. So we're still tinkering, we're still being innovative, we're still trying to get better. So I don't really have that figured out. The NFL, Peyton, that was lucky. We didn't think Peyton was ever going to play again. We got Paul George on board, he was scoring 8 points a game. 2 games ago, he had 30. So we're just lucky. We're just lucky. But I mean, if you go with the person, if you go with the person, usually you come out the other side in pretty good shape. We had a franchisee, just a great guy, and I got that call in January that he's coming out with cancer, and he wasn't doing well. His name was Martin Hart, and I don't have any fond memories of Martin Hart because every memory with Martin was fond. He's one of those guys that you just never forgot the conversation. And so I called and didn't get a hold of him, so he called me back, and he says, "Hey, Papa, it's Martin. I'm out of here." And next week he passed of cancer. And we went to the eulogy, and he had 5 girls. And when he was talking to them on the phone, he said, "I told my 5 girls," he said, "you stick with Kent Taylor at Texas Roadhouse, and you stick with Papa John at Papa John's," which really touched my heart because Martin Hart was like a king in our industry. And so the 4th young lady gets up to speak, and she said, "The thing I remember about my dad was," he said, "the week before he passed, he looked at us, he said, 'What can I do to make your life better? What can I do to help you?' And I said right there, I'm not waiting for my deathbed. I'm not, and I would really think, why not every day get up and do something nice and make life better for people you care about and people you love and friends and family? I just think that's a better way to go through life."
Hello, my name is Jeff Manley. I'm with Tailspin Pet Food and Accessories in Savannah, Georgia. And I'm wondering, how do you get across or explain the concept of win-win-win and consistency to entry-level employees?
Well, there's a company that had core values, service, quality, integrity, and ethics. That company was Enron. You can put it on the wall, but you can talk the talk, man. If you ain't walking the talk, they're going to see right through you. George Washington, who's my hero, great American, he had a saying is, "It's just amazing how much we can get done when we're doing." And so I think, we're a company of doers, and we try to get out and work and give the kids support, but you don't control people. You don't manage people. You give them a direction, you give them the resources, you give them the goals, and they either manage themselves or they don't. And if they're goal-lefters, they usually fit in real good at Papa John's, and if they're goal-righters, they want to take shortcuts. They want you to work weekends and they don't, then those folks don't last long with us.
I think there's a question up front.
Thank you all for being here. Quick question about contracting opportunities. So how does it work if small businesses in the audience here want to do business with the franchisees or at the corporate level? What does that process look like? Because I'm sure with 7,000 stores and being global, et cetera, there are a lot of opportunities for the small businesses in this room. Thank you.
Yeah, any products or services that you would want to introduce, our phone number is 502-261-PAPA, 7272, 502-261-7272. And the gentleman makes that decision is Sean Muldoon. And if he doesn't call you back, call that same number and ask for me, and I will call you back.
That's customer service.
We get probably a half a dozen letters a day on how great our pizza is. I respond personally to every single letter. Now I don't talk to Wall Street. Now, if they come to the building, I'll spend a whole day with them. I'm not going to go up to New York or, any of that nonsense.
How do you decide? How do you look to see who's in the supply chain? What are you looking for?
Well, first thing is we believe in long-term relationships. Been with our tomato supplier for 37 years. Lady that does our yeast for 30 years. Cheese guy, 28 years. So we really like long-term relationships. I don't like bouncing around. Our average executive has 15 years tenure. Remember, the first 8 years, we didn't have any executives. So, so it's, but I really think it's important to hold on to people. I don't know how you build a successful chain. The problem I have is that with the success we've had, stock's gone from $6.50 to $42. Everybody is stealing my people. I mean, again, the guy just got $5 million. I mean, that's sign-on money. That's big-time money, and that makes me happy. So, but it also keeps me on the ball that I got to take care of these people. I got to be good to them and make sure they're winning. This year, every employee in the company gets a raise except me. That's just what you got to walk that talk. By the way, they pay me $2.9 million. How much money do I really need to make? I mean, come on, $2.9 million.
There's a question right here in the front.
I had a question. How did you decide to go either franchise model or your own stores? At what point do you decide to go either way? What's a better model?
Very fortunate, probably in three ways. One is the bigger guys went to sleep on us and let us through that window of opportunity, and we got scale. The second thing is we're going international and global at the same time the world is. I mean, how lucky are we to hit this right? And I grew up in an area, Louisville, Lexington, Columbus, Ohio, that is the core of franchising. I mean, Donato's, White Castle, Chi-Chi's, Wendy's, you name it, they're all there. And so if the model works in Evansville, Louisville, Lexington, and Columbus, Ohio, it'll usually work everywhere. John Y. Brown with KFC, franchised and made $20 million. And Jim Patterson with Long John Silver's, who are both in Louisville, made $15 million. So I thought this franchising thing may be a good way to go. And so my brother is in law school, and we had a deal. I'll put you through law school if you do my legal work. And so he was with Greenbaum, Dole McDonald, which is really good at franchising. So our 7th store was a franchise store. Roger and Scott Roloff, who's still with us today, have 2 stores that do unbelievable volumes. Great operators, great people. Great, you're talking about guys that are really involved in their community. The Roloffs or something else. But early on, we liked the franchise model. So today we have 4,500 stores. We own 700. We have another 1,200 internationally, and then we got 2,600 in North America. But that was just kind of something early on we wanted to do and we thought would be prosperous. I hope that answers your question, yeah.
There's a question at the same table. It's a very inquisitive table.
Yes, my name is Ashileku. I am president of AE Financial Consulting Group. I want to find out how you're faring against your biggest competitors, for example, Pizza Hut. What is your differentiating strategy against Pizza Hut? Thank you.
At store 1, we moved from the broom closet doing 3,000 a week to the first freestanding building. It was actually in line, and it went to 9,000. And I went, we got something. I'm 22 years old, and I'm thinking we're going to whoop them in the whole world. At 22, I thought like that. And we had 2 fundamental beliefs. Just take care of people and make a great pizza, make a great product. And over the year, I'm not being hard on my competition, but again, our category is notorious for cutting corners. We've upped the quality, and I think it's fair to say that several, we don't want to use any specifically by name, but I think by nature they've decreased in quality. Now the consumer does not know what I've told you all tonight, because we don't go out and talk about real pork and real sausage and all that. We don't, because we don't need to. But you all know when you get a Papa John's versus some of the other, it's just different. And so the consumer, if you just keep doing the right thing over and over, the turn on the consumer is about 3.5 times a year. They order 3.5 times. So by the 4th or 5th time, if you've done good by them, they usually become a loyal customer. And we value loyal customers.
Hi, Mr. Snyder. I'm Dr. Shea from Guam, and I want to congratulate you for opening the first store, Papa John's, on Guam, and right next door to Pizza Hut, may I say.
What did he say?
He said it's better than pizza.
But my question to you is, how do you gauge your franchise based on the population? Population in Guam is about 170,000 to 180,000, and how do you know how many franchises to put on a particular population base? And my second question is, how do you innovate your product in a health-conscious community? I know that McDonald's is doing it. I know other franchises are doing it. How do you innovate your product for the future of a health-conscious community? Thank you.
I think as far as health conscious, that we have a store in our building that makes pizzas. We also have a salad bar and a vegan bar. So two things. We don't want them eating pizza just every day, and we don't want to eat a whole pizza. So pizza is very nutritious. It's very balanced, but you got to watch the caloric intake just like everything else. The biggest thing on the health is we've done whole wheat dough, and we've done other things like that, and it sounds good, but it doesn't sell. They don't eat it. And then on the labeling thing, we talked about that. I think that's just the right thing to do if you're going to say better ingredients, better pizza. The other part of your question, I'm not avoiding, but in China where you have different classes, okay, you're going to look at how you do each social economic class differently than the other one. And I think international, you've got to look at each one differently too versus how you would do it in a small town in the States versus a big town in the States. But I wish I could tell you it's a one shoe fits all, but it's a little bit more complex than that.
How long do you go before it's time to pull a product? And do the franchise owners call you up? Does Bill call you up and say, get this out of here?
Well, franchisees will let you know when they don't like something pretty quickly.
It depends how much we're selling that particular product. One of our new LTOs to come out, and if we decide to keep it and it starts going down, then you pull it and they come out. We've got a chain of LTOs coming that you can't even believe. It really is good. I mean, it really is, and it's going to do you some good. You watch these things, and trust me on this one.
I think there's a question right over here at this table.
Thank you very much. Dave Erdman from Honolulu, Hawaii. Aloha from another island. My question is, you're speaking to advertising and revisiting some of your business strategies on advertising. How about social media here in the US and also globally? How does that fit into your business and marketing plans? Thank you.
Dave, great question. Well, since I didn't grow up with social media, we really had to learn through the School of Hard Knocks. And I think the only way to learn social media is get knocked around a little bit, and we've been knocked around a little bit. But my gosh, the digital, as Bill alluded to, 50–60% of our business is online, 60 to 70% of our deliveries are online. I was fortunate when I made the $8 million bet on the internet, there was only one platform. Right now, we're putting in, there's like 7 or 8 ways this could go. And so as a leader in technology, we have to cover every base. And so when the consumer starts going towards a different kind of iPhone or an app or, whatever they decide to do, we got to be able to go right with them. But social media, it is really hard, especially with somebody that didn't grow up with it. But it's a must. You got to have that core competence in that principle. Otherwise, you're going to get killed. And we have gotten killed on that.
And are you watching the feeds? Are you seeing what's happening? Is someone bringing it to you? Or how important do you think the owner should be involved in social media?
Well, if it's a customer complaint, I definitely want to hear about that. Because, we sell 4 million pizzas a week, but we got to get every one of those right. I look at our Facebook site at least once or twice a month. Maybe more like once a week. I'm on it.
Well, Gray's now the new agency is going to be handling this thing too. That's part of the new agency's responsibility is the social media, and they're going to really pop it up a little bit. I think
there's a question in the middle here.
So my name is Jamal Lee. We do audio, lighting, and video production. I own Brazier Productions. And one of our biggest concerns is the turnover rate. So making sure our employees are happy, and also making sure that we create an outstanding, type of atmosphere. Also sit on the board of the Small Business Majority. So wanted to ask you a quick question. So how do you create an environment where your employees want to continue to make pizzas right in the midst of a tough environment, knowing that things are difficult at home? What are you doing to kind of inspire your employees?
I'll give you, there's only 3 things I've said that probably are really any use to you. One is, take care of the folks that don't burn down your castle. The other is a culture of head coach and collaborative alliance. This piece was really hard for me, and it took probably 22 years to get this. We have to have 6 or 7 things to go right at Papa John's, otherwise we fail. We have to get that pizza right. We have to get that service right. We have to drive the online sales. We have to get the stores built. We have to drive comp transactions and comp sales, and we have to hit our operating goal. The problem is people, and what gets measured gets done, what gets rewarded gets repeated. Employees won't do 7 things. So my mentor told me, he said, you can only have them do 3 or 4. And I said, I can't do 3 or 4, we gotta have 7. So what we did, we broke it down into time. We used time as an ally. Every period, the employees in the store and the execs get a check if the pizza scores are right and the service is right. Every quarter, they get another check on top of their monthly check if the comp sales are right and the comp transactions are right and we grow internet. You with me? And then at the end of the year, they get bonused on operating income. And that'll solve your problem. That's how you get 7 things done. Now, the execs get $1,000 for making good pizza. You wouldn't think $1,000 a month would really motivate somebody at this level. It does. And to them, it's a car payment. And the manager in the store is probably getting $300 or $400 a month, and everybody in between. So we probably weight pizza scores, 10 or 15% of total bonus, store growth and comp growth, 30%, and then operating income that goes to the shareholders, 55% of the take, and that's checks written at the end of the year. So they'll get a monthly check, a quarterly check, and a yearly check. Was that helpful? Okay, all right, Joe.
And to be conscious of time, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. There's a question in the back.
Hello, my name is Maurice Teller, and I just started a small business selling cosmetics. And I really want to understand the challenges that you had, because when you start a new business, the first thing is, how do you even get customers to come in to try your products? Because, I mean, I don't know what the competition was when you started Papa John's. Probably there were no other pizzas around you, or maybe there were, but if there were, how were you able to bring the customers to even try to understand that your product is better than what the other people have? Because I know that's the challenge most small businesses are having right now, being able to bring that customers in.
Sure, in the bar we did promotions. Like we do 3 beers for $1. One thing I did with the bar is that beer was $65 and $85 and pool tables were $35. Well, people don't like that changed, so we made everything in quarters. We put the pool tables at 50, and then we put a price structure, 50 cents, 75 cents, and $1 for a premium. So we kept everything in quarters, and that our pool table revenue went from $250 a week to $1,000 a week. So that was a big help. Early on, when nobody knew who Papa John's was, first thing I had to do is identify who was eating pizza. And so what I would do after work is go and get in my competitors' dumpsters and get the list of their customers for the day. And then I'd run a free pizza coupon over to their house and say, to the pizza lover who loves good pizza, we're a new chain in town, here's 50 cents off. So within a month, I could pretty well take all their business away from them. That's a true story.
That's a great story. I'm trying to picture that.
Can we do at least one more?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Thank you, John. My name is Anita, and I'm with a social enterprise that's a nonprofit. It's a platform that connects small business owners with volunteer business mentors. You touched on this topic of mentoring. You said you talked to your mentor and he suggested something. You also talk about the culture in your organization about people being really important. Do you make any efforts to provide mentoring for your franchisees? What kind of business mentoring support are you able to give?
Yeah, so many people have been so good to me. My grandfather, my dad, my tomato farmer. I mean, we've been really fortunate with mentors. This just didn't happen accidentally. Been great people around me that make us look good. Franchisees are interesting as far as mentoring. If a franchisee makes less than $600,000 a year, you're smarter than he is. If they make over $600,000 a year, they are now smarter than you. And so if it just happens. Now, he's the exception to the rule. But the smaller the smaller franchisees are just thirsty for advice. But you get a 50 or 100 store franchisee, and they pretty well are set in their ways on how they want to go about it, which is cool. I mean, again, we don't negotiate image, we don't negotiate product quality, but how he gets it done every day, and how he treats his people, and how he motivates his staff, and how he pays them, that's completely up to his entrepreneurial spirit.
I think we have time for one more.
Hi, Papa. My name's Catherine Portner. I am launching Portner Brewhouse, a brewery, restaurant, and craft beer test kitchen in Alexandria, Virginia. And I, like many entrepreneurs, are also the face of my business, and my name is in my business, and these pieces present a number of respective challenges to also that component and running the back end side of the business. So I was hoping that you could share with us some of the challenges that you've faced as you've grown and still remained the face, and how you've worked to overcome some of those.
Sure. That was one of the questions that they prepped me on, is that, how do you feel about being the face of the brand? I'm like, everybody in the audience, you're the face of your brand. I mean, you just are, just a little bit smaller scale, so you definitely are the reason they buy your products. The concept for Papa John's came to me in '82. Remember, I made pizzas at Rocky's, real Italian. He made a better pizza. And then I worked at Greek's. He made a better pizza. So at the time, Domino's owned Speed, Caesar's owned Price, Pizza Hut owned Variety, and 65% of the marketplace were independents. So I said, what if you had a chain that acted like an independent? What if you had a chain based on quality? It's pretty obvious. So in your case, where they've gone from 3 or 4 people that brew beer to 2,000 or whatever, you probably know that. There's a book called Positioning, The Battle for Your Minds by Jack Trout, and it talks about how you flank and how you differentiate your idea or your brand from others. And we actually hired his partner, Al Rees, and Al Rees came up with the Better Ingredients, Better Pizza. And we've used it since '95. The first slogan was "Fine People Serving Great Pizza," which is fine. It's truthful, but it's not really a marketing ploy. And then '89 was "Delivering the Perfect Pizza." Well, the consumer doesn't believe you can be perfect, and from delivering the perfect pizza, we finally got Better Ingredients, Better Pizza. We finally got it right. So, but it was trial and error. Was that helpful?
So have your challenges increased as you became more famous and more demands were put on you?
Yeah, you're on trial every day. I mean, in the social media, I mean, you've just got to be really, 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 really beyond reproach and really, really careful. And just, if you don't, I mean, again, you got to stay humble and you got to stay people-oriented. Man, I mean, if you're not good to people, something's going to happen to me. Something is, trust me. I don't know what it's going to be. And if I had burnt bridges as I went along and I didn't have my support system with my wife, my family, I mean, when things go bad, people kind of jump on you. But if you've been good to people and taken them along with you, then you make a mistake, you've got a little bit more area of a buffer to make it. But if I make a mistake, or the stock's right now at 42, and my guy just left, the stock goes to 37, they're going to kill me. That's just, but it cuts both ways. On one hand, it's working out pretty good, and it's been a good living, a good livelihood to say the least. On the other hand, there is another side of this, that social media and some of these other things are pretty difficult to deal with. So was that helpful? Okay, great. Thank you. And thank all of you all. I wish you the best, and thank you all for being here. God bless you. I mean, you all are the future. Entrepreneurs are our future, and I'm pulling for you. And I know the deck's stacked against us all, but I'm pulling for you, and I wish you the best. And I look forward to hearing from you. And feel free to write me and check that book out, Positioning by Jack Trout and Al Rees. So thank you,
John, Bill. Thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for being a part of Small Business Week. Thank you all for coming tonight. We will continue on the reception back into the other room, and we will see you tomorrow for the events, the award breakfast and the award lunch. Thank you. Have a good night.